Forza Horizon 6 could be set in Japan, and this would be a massive statement from one of the best-selling games on PlayStation 5. As reported by Windows Central, a Playground Games employee, Playground Games being the studio behind Forza Horizon, was spotted scanning a K car. Now this is really interesting given that K cars are more or less exclusive to the Japanese market, and Forza Horizon has historically not included any K cars at all outside of the AutoZam AZ1, which was a DLC car for Forza Horizon 5. It's also being reported that Forza Horizon 6 could be revealed at the Tokyo Game Show later this month, which would make sense if the game is to be set in Japan. Now this branch of the Forza franchise is immensely successful, and with Forza Horizon's recent jump to PlayStation, Forza Horizon may actually be poised to take on Sony's big racing franchise, Gran Turismo. Now you might think that sounds crazy, but hear me out. In this video we're going to go over the current state of Gran Turismo as a game and the racing scene on PlayStation in general, and by the end of this video you might just agree with me. So before we start, let's take a quick look into the past to better understand how Gran Turismo and Forza Horizon ended up coming to a head in the first place. In 1997, Sony published Gran Turismo, a racing game developed by an internal team named Polis Entertainment. The following year, the team was established as Polyphony Digital prior to the North American release of Gran Turismo. GT would proceed to become the best-selling game on the console and a genre-defining title, bringing stunning visuals, realistic handling, and a compelling gameplay experience to the masses. That success was continued for sure with Gran Turismo 2 in 1999 and Gran Turismo 3 in 2001. By this point, Gran Turismo was arguably the go-to realistic game on consoles, and Microsoft, wanting to compete with Sony's franchises, released the first Forza Motorsport game in 2005, a year after the release of Gran Turismo 4. So Gran Turismo and Forza Motorsport would go on to be incredibly successful over the years on their respective platforms, although a new game was on the horizon that would completely change the racing genre. That's right, I'm talking about Forza Horizon, the second branch of the Forza franchise, which was a fresh new racing game set in a massive open world. Now, open world racing games were not new to the market at the time. The concept itself had already been pretty mainstream for years, notably following the release of Test Drive Unlimited in 2006, which helped to popularize the realistic free roam racing concept. 6 years later, Forza Horizon 1 released on the Xbox 360 and set the bar for open world racing games. Each subsequent entry to the series boosted its popularity further, culminating in the release of Forza Horizon 5 in 2021, which has proven to be the most successful game yet, reaching over 50 million players as of August 2025. Now, as mentioned previously, Test Drive Unlimited had already successfully created an open world racing game that blended realism with arcade fun, coupled with a decent campaign experience for the time. Forza Horizon took that concept to the next level, with a vibrant and varied world and a festival-style campaign that emphasised freedom and a non-linear gameplay approach. Taking full advantage of the Xbox 360, it had stunning visuals and really captured its audience. One of Forza Horizon's big selling points was its sim-style handling model in an open-world setting. It might be surprising to some who haven't played the game, but compared to open-world racing games like Need for Speed, Forza Horizon is actually quite realistic. There's no nitrous here. While it's not on the same level of realism as Gran Turismo or other pure sim racing titles, it's not designed to be. Forza Horizon is designed to be very accessible while providing the player with a satisfying and realistic experience. For example, Forza Horizon can be played with anything from a mouse and keyboard to a controller, or even a sim racing wheel, such as the ones that I'm using. The word simcade is thrown around a lot these days, and I do think Forza is a great example of that. Not in a bad way, but in a good way. All the satisfaction of controlling the car without some of the, let's be honest, headaches and steep learning curves and frustration that can come with more hardcore handling models. Now you might be asking at this point, how does this impact Gran Turismo in the slightest? They're completely different games. And you'd be right, at least in theory. Gran Turismo has been going through somewhat of a rough patch recently, as fans of the games might be aware. From a technical point of view, the The quality of the game itself has not diminished. Polyphony Digital have been setting the technical gold standard of console racing game development for about 30 years now. It's the direction and content of the game that has started to frustrate its players. Historically, Gran Turismo had a campaign that allows for a decent amount of player choice and freedom when it comes to how they approach the races. Gran Turismo's latest campaign, centered around the GT Cafe, has been criticised for being overly linear and restricted. The GT Cafe is essentially a list of boxes to be ticked in order to complete the campaign. This, coupled with the relatively slow content updates that have seemingly been ignoring player demand, has led to a large proportion of the Gran Turismo fanbase feeling increasingly disillusioned. Outside of the dedicated Gran Turismo fanbase, there's also the community of hardcore sim racing fans on console who play Gran Turismo as it remains the most complete racing package by default on PS5. These players are also growing increasingly frustrated for a different reason, as aside from the somewhat flawed single player campaign, Gran Turismo also has a growing problem with its car list, specifically its race cars. There have been multiple videos made on this topic by big creators like Super GT, Black Panther and myself. The issue being that Gran Turismo 7 not only lacks race cars compared to other games, but the racing cars it does have are almost all older, out-of-date models, something that becomes painfully obvious when comparing to sims such as ACC or iRacing. The sim racing community greatly values the cars they race being up to date, so Polyphony Digital not wanting to update their car list has been a growing source of discontent. And this brings us to the big question: how could Forza Horizon actually be a threat to Gran Turismo? Gran Turismo has always been relatively accessible to a more casual fan base compared to other racing sims, which has helped the game grow and maintain a healthy player base over the years. That being said, the instant success of Forza Horizon 5 on PS5 goes to show that the casual player base that isn't necessarily attached to Gran Turismo is maybe more aligned with the open world concept. As of 21st July 2025, Forza Horizon 5 is the most successful game on PlayStation 5 of the entire year, selling 3 million units. Open world racing games were not exclusive to Xbox prior to just this release, however, as similar games such as the Crew Motorfest also exist on PS5. Therefore, Forza Horizon immediately performing to such a degree upon release is proof of how powerful the Forza and Forza Horizon brand has become, and it's a massive statement from Microsoft, no doubt encouraging a future release of Forza Horizon 6 on Sony's console. Ultimately, Forza Horizon carries more appeal for players who prefer a simcade experience, providing a more open-ended gameplay loop that is arguably more fun. Another interesting angle to the situation is that Forza Motorsport as a franchise as a whole has reportedly been cancelled, with the remainder of Turn 10 Studios switching to Forza Horizon allegedly. In light of this massive development, it's entirely possible that some of the more sim-oriented features of Forza Motorsport could be integrated into Forza Horizon, further broadening the appeal of the game, with the existing wheel support incorporating systems such as proper tyre wear and tyre management as an option for custom races. For example, it could definitely attract players who are interested in that kind of simulation detail. Now, something I touched on in a previous video, and by the way, if you're not subscribed to my channel, hit that subscribe button right now. I personally really appreciate it. I would love to make more of these videos for you. There are already other compounding factors that make the situation a bit more complicated. The impending release of Project Motor Racing, a racing sim that aims to bring a fresh approach to the genre on console and PC, could not only impact Polyphony Digital's credibility in the sim racing community, but also cause a mass migration of the hardcore sim racing fans away from Gran Turismo if it can provide a similarly complete package. That means that not only will simcade fans have a more favourable alternative to Gran Turismo, the console sim racing community may do as well. With the players being pulled away at both ends of the spectrum and the dedicated fan base feeling increasingly frustrated, the player base as a whole could suffer. So now that I've explained how Forza Motorsport could be a real threat to Gran Turismo, let's explore some of the possible consequences. And why not start with the worst case scenario so we can get it out the way? I think the absolute worst case scenario, as unlikely as it is, would be Sony doing the unthinkable and forcing Polyphony Digital to pivot Gran Turismo to an open world racing game or something of the sort in an effort to compete with Forza Horizon. Now, I will reiterate, this is an absolute worst case scenario, and history has shown us that this would almost certainly end in disaster. It would destroy the Gran Turismo brand as we know it, alienate the remaining GT fans, as well as Kazunori Yamauchi, who has spent decades of his life building the most successful PlayStation series in history. It's entirely possible that Kaz would leave the company in a similar fallout to what we saw between Konami and Hideo Kojima, which, as we know, did not end well at all for the Metal Gear franchise. Given that this scenario would 100% doom the series, it seems ludicrous that it could happen. But, for argument's sake, for honesty, transparency, I just have to put it out there. Now, another worst case scenario that is more likely, relatively speaking, is that Polyphony Digital simply do nothing to correct course and continue with their current vision into Gran Turismo 8, which was confirmed to be in development a couple of years ago. With all of the elements that have been discussed over the course of this video, notably large chunks of players finding better alternatives and the dedicated player base getting frustrated, it is possible that Gran Turismo 8 would fail to find any traction and ultimately fail to perform to the required degree. With the worst case scenarios there out of the way, what can Polyphony Digital actually do to make sure they maintain their position in the console racing sphere? The first and most obvious step is to play to their strengths. As I've mentioned previously, Polyphony Digital is arguably the best studio in the industry, regardless of platform, when it comes to making a polished and complete racing game. When it all comes together, especially with PSVR 2, I don't think anything comes close. By playing to those strengths, they can easily reconnect with the GT fans and sim racers by adding more exciting races with dynamic weather, up-to-date race cars and more tracks. Ideally, they start now with GT7 updates to gain momentum again. If the financial aspect of these updates is a potential issue, then doing larger paid DLC packs could be an avenue going forward, as Forza Horizon 6 isn't going to wait for GT8. That being said, I can also see a scenario where updates for GT7 continue to slow down as more and more resources are shifted over to development of the next entry. I think it's safe to say that Polyphony Digital will actually never really be able to directly compete with Forza Horizon. Xbox and Microsoft seem to have virtually unlimited money and will make sure that the development of Forza Horizon is as smooth as possible, which apparently includes scaling down Forza Motorsport to even focus on Forza Horizon. That being said, it's also fair to say that Forza Horizon will never really be able to directly compete with Gran Turismo, or the best version of Gran Turismo. There's a reason why Gran Turismo is the most successful series Sony has, and why it's been one of the mascots of PlayStation for almost 3 decades. GT has a soul, and Xbox reportedly throwing Forza Motorsport under the bus kind of shows that revenue and numbers going up are the only thing that matters to them. If things continue the way they currently are though, for the first time, GT truly could be an underdog to a Forza game. So you've seen the video now, make sure you're subscribed, let me know what you think in the comments, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video like this.